Hey traders, this is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trader Group, and it is Thursday, August 22nd. So another day of fairly decent choppy price action again. I think I'm going to go out on a crazy limb here and say, the market's probably waiting for Powell to speak tomorrow. That is early tomorrow morning. That's I think 10 o'clock Eastern is the time. It is just a speech. I don't think there's Q&A after it from what I heard on Bloomberg Radio this morning. So hopefully we'll get by that yesterday. It feels like the market is a little bit handicapped. If the market wants to sell off, so be it. If the market wants to kind of get over whatever he's going to say and move on, I think that would be great. My guess for tomorrow, I think that the expectations are a little bit high, and I said this for the Fed meeting too. I think we're over expecting rate cuts, but so he's going to have to kind of thread the needle tomorrow. So I think it's going to be a difficult speech for him to do. It seems like most of the Fed speakers that have come out, some of them non-voting members, have basically said that more of like what we found out with the minutes. There's quite a disagreement amongst Fed governors about whether they should do another rate cut or if they should just kind of stand by and have that ammo just in case there's something larger coming down the pike. So I think that's kind of what Powell's going to say tomorrow too, if I had to guess. That he's basically going to say, the rest. Here, I'll give you my three talking points, right? Pretend I'm a Fed governor, which I like to do all the time. I think he's going to say we're going to be somewhat. He's not going to take Janet Yellen's wording, but he's going to say something like we're going to be data dependent. We're closely watching for deterioration. The global markets are weak. The trade war is a concern. But they're going to be ready. I don't think he's going to commit to any type of cut or anything like that. I think they're going to be kind of like Draghi, ready and willing to act if necessary. But if the data improves, he may say something like we don't need to do anything. So I think that's what you're going to get for tomorrow. No commitment to anything. So market could sell off a little bit on that. You could see a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction if that's what you think as well. But I think for whatever reason, I think the market's going to move past it. I don't think maybe I'm being naive here, but if they come out and they don't guarantee a rate cut coming up, maybe I'm being naive with thinking that the market doesn't sell off that much. Or if it does, buyers kind of come in a little bit. That's my guess for tomorrow. I could tell you, so that's my opinions. What's going on here in the technicals? Well, we just can't get above this 2940 level, even 2935. I've been talking about this now for a couple of days. I've been sending out chart after chart about it. There's definitely a sticking point here at 2935. This is where we hit this morning. Now it's funny because there was about like three negative things that hit the tape all in the same time. There was stuff about China and Vietnam. There was stuff about Germany saying one of the banks over there saying that they don't need to do anything in terms of further stimulus right now, and then there was a third thing too, which I forget what it was, but we got whacked again, and it seems like the pattern of us getting whacked. If we go to the 5 minute. Seems like the first two bars, like I don't know if somebody has a sell program or if it's generated based on the news, but it doesn't happen on the first 5 minute bar. They wait for 10 minutes. So again, I don't know if if it's a coincidence with some of the news wires and those stories hitting at the same time, but it seems like when we do go down, I've seen this pattern now probably about 4 or 5 times, maybe you have as well, where we actually start to go higher for the first couple bars and then we get whacked. Then there's one of these bars and then you get a reversal bar and then you keep going. So the takeaway from this is don't buy in that first 5 minute bar unless you're super quick, and kind of let this market digest in the first hour. Because I have seen this, and again, it hasn't been like every day or every other day, but once we do get like a pounding like the market got in the first hour and a half, it doesn't come on that first 5 minute bar. It gives you a fake out to the upside, and then it goes. I don't know. Perhaps people are not Some traders are not programming their algos till 9:40ish, 9:45. I do know some people who do that. They wait until the more what's known as the morning rotation is done. So anyway, that's what happened here. We did get a nice tradable bounce today. So if you were smart and kind of found some things that like we had a couple traders in here playing Boeing today, really really nice. I mean these guys cleaned up on Boeing today. They got Boeing right off the first 5 minute bar. This did not have that same reaction, right? So this was kind of the outlier of the day. And I think we had like 3 or 4 guys trade this today. And then even after this, we had some traders, once they announced that they were going to, kind of ramp up production, provided that they get that approval. I think in February of next year is what they said. We had some traders play it again on that and catch this bounce here midday. So that was really the story. I think in our trading room. I think a couple other plays like, going after shop when everything goes down in the morning, when everything gets hit. There's always names that are going to outperform. So Shopify managed to just finish down 30 basis points. But again, these are the things that you want to go after once we get some kind of macro dip like that. And this was nice because it was a nice recovery. Remember last week we got hit like this and we just kept on going south for the whole day. But this kind of just seemed like it was not that big of headlines. So that's for today. A couple of names that reported after the close. Salesforce is up to 158. Looks like a nice quarter after kind of getting beaten up for the last couple months. Nice move up to 158. That's going to be hitting, I think, some overhead resistance. With a chart like this, that's kind of a mess. I thought we were only going to go up to maybe 155. My trade that I did in the room today was sell put spreads, which was nice. I also had a keys option trade on. Granted, I was a little bit worried that not keys that it was going to give back some profits, like we saw Splunk do in the aftermarket last night. It was a little bit iffy here on the open. They give you a fake out right on the open, and then this thing went all the way up to 101. What a move in keys. So really strong. I would watch this one for continuation. This one's kind of been bottled up for a little while. Remember this big move in January? One of the nicest looking charts from January to May. And then it kind of got hit after, and I remember this. I believe this got hit on Xilinx earnings. It fell right down to the 200-day moving average and then bounced and had another nice swing up here. It's been chopped since it hit a high of 93, but man, what a move in this one today. Also after the close was Intuit. Really nice. So this, provided that these names kind of stay up here through their earnings calls, I probably jinxed Splunk last night. But provided that they do, Salesforce, I think sorry, not Salesforce, software names, I think selectively will be, continue to have some momentum to them. You just have to watch it and take targets with those names because they are expensive names. What else? There was one other name. Oh, VMware I thought was interesting because they not only announced one deal, but two. I don't think I've ever heard that before, where they actually announced 2 deals while they're reporting earnings. Two deals in the same day, acquiring Carbon Black and Pivotal, which was already announced, but I think formally during their earnings release. All right, so that's a couple of names that reported earnings. So I mean, bottom line, I could tell you from so bottom line, I would say for the big index, right? For the S&P, we have to get over this 2940. If I think so, and it's a big if, of course, but if we can get above 2940, I think this market is going to move pretty nicely. But easier said than done because we've hit this level like 5 times now and have had trouble with it. So if we happen to get above 2950, I think we're going to continue to run. But we've got to get over that level first, and we've now tested this several times. So, like I said, 5 times. I already said this, but that's the big thing. And then, if not to the downside, watch 28.99. We've been respecting that top of value a couple times this week. So we can certainly, if that level gets breached, we could see I think more downside too. Downside through possibly through the value area. So that's the main levels to watch in the S&P. I was going to tell you a little bit about option activity. Like every day, I've been kind of giving you a little bit of a summary, talking about whether I think it's decent or not. What was the put call ratio today? Maybe a little bit lower than it was yesterday, 0.94. So definitely still heightened. But I could tell you from a risk standpoint. So first of all, we are still seeing a lot of put buying that's going on. Somebody asked me about, because I mentioned that there was some IWM put buying today. I mean, pretty decently. There's some calls too, and there was a little bit of calls yesterday. Like here's a call buyer. I believe it says above ask. I would have to check open interest on that. So it's not completely one-sided. Here's one order of calls too versus open interest, but it looks like the puts are much larger. So for example, this sweep opening, right? The September 6th, all short dated stuff. 149 puts. That's a $1.7 million order. That's no small order. Then right above it, also an opening trade, 620,000, right, for this IWM. So there is some decent index put buying. We also saw right in the morning before that swoosh down, there was some Qs puts that were bought as well. Right, you could see this one. This was at 10:53. This is a 3 point. So this was afterwards, but there was one before. If I can find it here, I know that there's a lot of activity. Maybe it was this one. No, this was at 11:27. So you could see there's quite a bit of this too. So I need to check open interest for this, but it does say above ask. So and swept. So I think that they're kind of layering in some put protection in the indices. And again, I don't think that's a shocker, right? I mean, you've got to if Powell comes out and he's more hawkish than people think, those puts might come in handy. Single names, we are seeing some good action in select names, right? So Costco had a nice order. This is in the TTG tactical portfolio that I've been mentioning the last couple days. There was some, I think it was December calls that went out. The daily chart looks pretty good in this coming out of that consolidation. So I like this Costco. It's going to have to contend with the 52-week high, but it looks pretty darn good here. So I like Costco, and like I said, that's a name that was added to the portfolio that I've been talking about. So I'm long that one within that portfolio. A few other names. PTD has been seeing call activity. Even after earnings, that's usually a pretty good sign. That was a name that we saw a lot of call buying before. DHI, you've heard me talk about this name. This is also in the portfolio as well, so we've got that working for us too. But look at the weekly chart, right? And if you've been watching my videos, you've heard me talk about DHI probably a couple weeks ago. I was looking for a close above value, 47.27. So this looks really good. I mean, it's a really nice developing weekly bar here in DHI. So again, have a position in that one. In terms of trading, what did I do today? Wix, I don't think, unfortunately, I went into this one in the beginning of the day. Sucker. Um, but it did close above value, so I think this is good. Keep an eye on this one tomorrow. Look at the consolidation here in Wix. Staying with the option activity, Dollar General saw some calls that are going to be right around when they report on August 28th. They expire on August 29th. Calls in this one. A few other names that we saw some call buying in, and again, like I said, it's a decent amount of put buying too. ITB, which is the home builder ETF, sticking with that DHI. Adobe saw a pretty interesting put order that went up. I didn't get to see if that one is matched up with shares, but still interesting. A couple energy names in here. What else caught my eye for the day? Fox A saw some calls. A little more Planet Fitness, which didn't do so well today after our calls yesterday. Corning, I played Corning today. I hit two targets in Corning. I still have the last portion of the position on, which is kind of like how I like it to work. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, I try to be as transparent as possible. with mentioning call activity, right? You see these guys on TV, they never mention a losing trade. The reason why they never mention it is because if it's losing, they don't mention it. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely trades that go up, like um, the Planet Fitness, and the way that you can kind of think about that, I think sometimes, is when you see an order and it's on the tape, and you you know, if you decide not to take it that day, you kind of keep a record of it. Like, I still think that this is a pretty interesting name versus the 200-day moving average. Also, when names are super hot, like ENPH, there was all kinds of calls in this thing yesterday, right? It was down 3% today. So there's your opportunity. And I didn't take this. I didn't take this one because I can't trade every name, but it's definitely on my list. So all kinds of calls yesterday, and the name's down 3%. So you sometimes you can wait for better entries, but you don't hear anybody talking about it today. That there was call activity yesterday. Now, granted, this has been a high performer, and we've seen calls all along the way. But people are I think people on Twitter sometimes, as well as on TV, are very deceiving because they only will talk about the winners, right? They don't mention when the option activity doesn't work. And I could tell you right now, right? I'm in a couple trades, right? Like, I hate to call the guys out on CNBC, but Mondelez, right? I've been in this now. I'm being patient with this, but I'm still in calls from last week in Mondelez. There's no sell signal here, but I'm kind of decaying away here a little bit in options, waiting for something to happen. But right now, this is a losing trade. Regardless, if it continues to do nothing, it will be a loser. So I have it on. Hopefully, it will do something. There's no reason to sell it just because it's not doing anything. And I did go out longer than what we saw on the tape. So anyway, just wanted to mention that because I think it's important. All right, guys. I'll see you guys bright and early for tomorrow. We'll see what Mr. Powell has to say, and we'll go from there. Maybe there'll be some good trading opportunities. One last thing I will say as well, right? With this market dip and these, we'll call them tape bombs, I guess is probably the best way to say it. You have to have cash available to deal with this, right? If you do not have enough of a cash cushion, the best thing in the world is when this kind of stuff happens is to be looking at new opportunities, not existing positions. So review how many positions you have on, because I think this kind of stuff will continue, and they're great trading opportunities. But if you're bogged down, watch with a full plate of positions, it's very difficult. And I'll leave it there. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.